As I mentioned to the people who were here for the first session, I'm now in this rather unusual position in that I'm the person who's speaking, but also I'm deputising for the room host who is stuck on a train. So first of all, as room host, I have to introduce the fantastic next speaker, Allan Kelly. He's a wonderful guy. You should listen to him. Yeah, oh, thank you, Mr. Room Host, and now I'll begin. Some of you, if you came to my presentation, was it last year, or if you followed any of my blasphemous tweets or blog, you'll know I'm very associated with this no projects movement, which really is challenging the status quo. It really is about innovation. Many people don't like no projects because it challenges one sacred cow too many. And no project says, projects is actually a construct. Projects are not natural. They weren't handed down on tablets of stone. They are an invention of the management world. And you can do work without them. So I'm very associated with the no projects movement. There's a book I'll plug later called Continuous Digital. There was once upon a time called No Projects. But the problem comes if you aren't going to follow a project model. How do you know you're doing the right thing? Because project model makes it really easy for you, doesn't it? This is what you've got to build on schedule, on budget, all the rest. You know your success criteria. If you drop that out, how do you know what success looks like? How do you know if it's worth doing some work? How do you know if you're even doing the right thing? What are your criteria? Well, the answer, as it turns out, is value, business benefit. Are you delivering something which delivers benefit? And rather than saying business benefit all the time, we tend to say value. And value, it's nice if we can express it in pounds, shillings and pence, or dollars or euros or whatever. But whatever is beneficial to your organisation, your business, for many of you, that's going to be money in the bank. If you're in the third sector, it could be, you're helping some group. You could be education, you could be government, something, whatever your organisation exists to deliver, that you are delivering value. So now we have to tackle the problem of value. We've got rid of projects, we've got rid of one problem. Now we have the problem of what is value. Well, there's some ways we can measure value, and I'll touch on some in a bit. But if we're going to be thinking about value, how do we maximise value? How do we increase value? How do we plan for value? How do we plan our way? How do we set out to deliver more value? And rather than planning around effort estimates and timelines and all the rest, how do we actually think about planning for value? So that's what I'm going to talk about for a bit here. How much and when, because this is the old question that comes up again and again and again, isn't it? Agile, waterfall, God knows, however you're working, how much is it going to be worth? When will it be ready? How much of this will I get on what date? Any of you come across this question? Those of you who call yourselves consultants or coaches, you probably visit this question on a daily basis. Is this project right for waterfall, or is it right for Agile? What should we do here? And people seem to spend an inordinate amount of time, it's proportional to the size of their organisation, debating whether waterfall or Agile is the right way to go. And perhaps once they get beyond that, once they decide that, well, actually we should do Agile because it's the flavour of the month, we also get a close cousin of this question. Is this project right for Kanban? Or should it be Scrum? Or should it be DSDM? Or should it be XP? Or should it be feature-driven development? Or should it, oh my God. At best, these are pointless questions. At worst, they're a sign of people playing for time and trying to resist whatever it is they don't want. This is the real question. Who cares about right? What will make the most money? And if there's any coders in the room, I'm sure you've been in a situation where there's a way you've wanted to do it and someone said to you, shut up, do it that way because we'll get it sooner, we'll make more money, whatever. So often in business, it's not a question of what is right, what is the right thing to do. Morals don't come into this. It's what will make the most money. So who cares about right? which will make them more money. Now, at this point, it gets very easy, because I can prove to you an agile development process with an agile delivery process, when it's working well, will make more money. Oh, no, I rearranged the slides. There's a graph right here, and I've forgotten it. I'll get onto this graph in a minute, it'll prove this, but one of the messages I want to say is that when we work in an agile fashion, we should make more money, and this is more important than the right question. And there's 3 lessons I want to try and get across today. One is, a little bit soon is worth more than a lot later. The end date, the date when you have done all the work you've been asked to do, is less important. Yes, you'll have more, and more will sell for more money, more will bring in more customers, more all the rest of it. But actually, delivering a little bit sooner will help you make more money overall. A little bit today, a little bit of jam today is worth more than a lot of jam tomorrow. Lesson number 2, I'm going to introduce you to a thing called a time value profile. It's how you can look at the value of something as time changes. Unfortunately, Aslan is talking downstairs. She's also talking about cost to delay. That's the cost to delay comes in here. I find cost to delay is quite a complex subject. Hopefully, if I show you these graphs, it's a simple way of getting into it. And thirdly, as I mentioned earlier on, deadlines are elastic by value. Once you accept that the value you deliver will change over time, the conversation ceases to be about when will this be ready, and is about how can we release some value sooner. If we do more and we do it later, how much value will we release? And different dates, different release dates, completion dates, whatever milestones you call them, different dates result in different value delivered. So we'll try and get on with it. Regular deliveries are good. And we'll talk to, most of you are agile people, we talk to agile people and they say regular deliveries, continuous delivery, whatever, is good because it gives more options for feedback. It creates tighter feedback loops. And it allows for changing requirements. And it will help us improve quality. If we don't have good quality, we can't deliver this stuff. And it will reduce risk. These are the standard answers that if you ask an agile coach or an agile advocate why regular deliveries are good. These are the standard answers. And they're all true, but they're irrelevant. The only answer that really matters is regular deliveries are good because they'll make you more money, they'll deliver you more value. I know every time I say value, all of you who work for the government or in the not-for-profit sector cringe. Just every time I say value, just substitute in the thing that your organisation is trying to deliver, whether it's more kids who can read and write or more people with better blood flow or whatever it is, you know. So please don't take money too badly. Regular deliveries will increase value for your organisation. And that will make more money. Sorry, back to money again. Money is the best feedback, isn't it? People tell me they love my books. That's fantastic. I feel really great. But when they give me money, that makes a difference. Warm words don't pay the mortgage. Yes, it does all these other good things, but the important thing is regular deliveries will make you more money. And this is, I think, a mistake a lot of agile people get wrong. We concentrate on the things on the left-hand side rather than the things on the right-hand side. Doesn't that sound familiar? I should reverse this slide, actually, shouldn't I? So it can be the things on the right are worth more than the things on the left. I learn something every day. So here's the graph I was looking for before. The yellow bar here, a big bang delivery. We get a team, they cost us $1 million, they beaver away for a year, and they deliver all of this. In terms of value delivered, they've delivered what I think $225,000 above the cost of the team. If instead of doing a big bang delivery, they had done 12 small deliveries and built each delivery, they delivered a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And just for the sake of the graph, we'll assume every delivery was worth 1/12 of the total value delivered. Then purely because of the way you calculate NPV and return on investment, you will make an extra $27,000 or 2.75%. And I know 2.75% doesn't sound like a lot, But imagine your mortgage was 2.75% higher, you'd notice it. If you can deliver 12 small increments that you can push out and your customers, your users can just start using, and every month they get a little increment, you will deliver more value, because down here in the first month you will start to get some value, you'll start to get some money coming from your customers. At the end of the second month you'll get some more value coming from your customers. At the end of the third month you'll get some more so very quickly your team will generate revenue. And because of the way we calculate NPV, IRR, that results in much higher rates over here. Yes, 12 deliveries will be less risky than one big bang delivery. Yes, 12 deliveries will allow for feedback. One big bang delivery, etc., etc., etc. But at a very basic level, it just increases the amount of money you'll make. So it's the value delivered over the cost to build. If you are always on the cost side of the equation, you will lose. There will always be someone somewhere who will promise to do it for less money than you. Do you think they will manage to fulfill that? Probably not. There'll always be somebody who, no matter how cheaply you decide to do it, they will cut more corners. They will do a more rubbishy job. And late in the day, people will find out that they paid for rubbish. You have to get onto value. Or, as Mr. Warren Buffett says, price is what you pay, value is what you get. We need, as an industry, to stop thinking about how much we're paying and start thinking more about what is the value we are getting. So let's talk about value. You're all schooled in Agile. Here's 2 user stories. I agree they're similar. There's the value they'll deliver. This one we reckon, and this team's really good, so we'll trust this estimate. They reckon this will take 4 weeks to deliver, and this will take 6 weeks to deliver. Which story should we go do first? Audience participation time. Story 1 or story 2, as my optician would say? Two. 1 vote for 2 there. 1. Yeah. Would you like any more information? Because remember, these are user stories, these are placeholders of conversations. Would you like to ask me anything about these stories? What's the special range? It's actually not important for this exercise. Well, we can consider that option in a moment, but we first of all need to get started. We've got a bunch of coders sitting at their keyboard and they're just waiting. And option 3, no, right now this is the only work we've been asked to do. The cost. Well, it's the same team, so it's the same cost. One will take 4 times whatever the team costs per week, and one will take 6 times. But I don't want you to think about cost, I want you to do some value. Sorry. We will do when we deliver it, but right now we just need to make it. These are epics. By the way, you know every story is an epic until proven innocent. Confronted with a story, assume it's an epic until you have not been able to break it down any further. Yeah. Implementation detail. That is true, that is true. And it's a point we will come back to in a moment. Let me give you some more information. What time of year is it? Today is 1st of September. Okay. 1 and then 2. 1 and then 2. No, there's some head shaking over here. No. Well, Lynn will be very glad to know we need a bit more analysis here. This is a time value profile. This is the amount, these are possible delivery dates along here, and this is the value we could make. So today is September the 1st, so one of our stories could deliver just over 1 million. Here we are, here's the Santa app. For the next 4 months, we're here, 1st of September. You know, we need to have it in the market in time for Christmas, for parents to use it. As the dates go on, you know, today's 1st of September, if we deliver it in 2 weeks, exactly the same value, no one's going to use it. After the 15th of September, really well-prepared parents are shopping, okay? And the value starts to decline. But it's after the end of October that value really starts to fall off quickly. If you deliver it after the 27th of October, you're starting to fall off the cliff edge, okay? After the 22nd of December, really, the market for orthodox kids is really small. So, on any given date, there's the value. If we begin this story today, we've got 6 weeks. We can't deliver all the value. We can deliver the vast majority of it, delivering on the 13th of October, like Santa. So think about it like this. This is your best before date. Okay? You've gone down to Sainsbury's, you bought some nice food. It'll last for a few weeks. There'll be a marginal loss of taste. But if you eat it beyond the 27th of October, it's really going to be quite tasteless. And if you eat it beyond the 5th of January, you might well get food poisoning. Yeah? Best before and use by date. And here's Halloween. Same story, no change in value, gradually tails off, but look here. Luckily here in the UK we get 5th of November and the 31st of October confused. So I put the best before date here, but I know best before date is there. There's the use by date. So what are you thinking? Halloween first or Santa first? Here we are. Your options are: option A, do Halloween and then Santa. Option B, do Santa and then Halloween. Option C, do Santa and Halloween and forget about Santa. You can't deliver it by you can't do Halloween first and then Santa and capture all that value. Do Santa and forget Halloween. That's probably the least risky, you know. Change the estimate. That one always gets a laugh. How often have you seen it happen for real? Yeah. I always remember once doing a course in Chicago, and I set the exercise up, and gets to this point where they realise they can't do the project. I said, so what do you want to do? And one of the ladies in the course said, should we change the estimates? I was like, okay, well you could do that in this exercise, but in real life? Yeah. Unfortunately, I think E is rather common. Do both and pray. I think this is another common strategy. I did once meet a product manager who had an interesting take on this, because he kind of believes if we parallel these things, they both got really productive. You split the team in two, you get twice the productivity. No. Add more people. I don't know, how long does it take to hire somebody down here in Falmouth? Byron, how long did it take you to hire your last coding hire? 6 months. Christmas is going to be come and gone, isn't it? Oh, it's next year. And then as we just mentioned, you know, reuse. Could you use part of it? You know? So this seems the obvious thing to do, and as coders we love reusability, don't we? Unfortunately, there's a whole bunch of questions you should really think about before you jump to reuse, like how much of Halloween can be reused? Now in this example, superficially it looks like a lot, but how often do we consider that question? And not only how much of Halloween could be reused, but how much of Santa would actually want any of Halloween? How much does extra reusability cost? If you write code to be reusable, how much more does it cost over single-use code? Come on, developers, you're always telling your managers this should be reusable, so give me a number. Fred Brooks in 1974 wrote that it costs 3 times as much to write reusable code as single-use code, which means you're not into profit, you're not saving money till you use that code 4 times. How much of your reusable code gets reused once, let alone 4 times? How much money is lost by this delay? Whether it is 3 times longer or just twice as long or 1.5 times, the extra time you spend making code in Halloween reusable for Santa is going to mean Halloween will hit the market later and you will lose value. That's something else you'd need to factor in before you go down and reuse. There's a load more analysis here you could do. And how much more money is gained because you early delivery of Santa? So Santa is delivered that much early because it reuses code from Halloween. Halloween loses money because it's delivered later, but Santa is delivered... Reuse isn't a panacea. For my money, it doesn't work. So just remember this, reuse increases risk. Because if you go down the reuse route and Halloween fails to deliver, Santa's now got a problem. If you keep these 2 things as 2 separate deliveries with no shared code, then if Halloween goes pear-shaped, Santa can just go ahead. Yeah? Making it reusable increases the risk. I have nothing against reuse code, it's speculative reuse, reusability I have a problem with. So we're taking reuse off this list. Let's do the analysis. Because we've got our time value profile, we can start to say how much value. If we do Santa first, we deliver it there, then we deliver Halloween. Oh look, the delivery date for Halloween is the 9th of November. Oh, this graph hasn't the date on. It's there anyway. No value to Halloween if you do Santa first. Do Santa first and Santa will make you $1,025,000. You can't make the original $1,060,000 that was promised because you cannot deliver it by the 13th of October. So any business case that said Santa is worth $1,060,000, that's kind of wrong because there's no way you can deliver that. And Halloween makes 0. So the total value we get to deliver is just over $1 million. On the other hand, if we do Halloween first, Halloween will make $340,000. Again, we can't realise the entire $355,000 as promised by the Halloween Act, simply because we can't get it delivered by the 29th of September. There's no way that business case is valid because we just can't do it. However, Santa will make $800,000. Now that is a lot less than $1 million. And it's $225,000 less than the original business case because we can't get it into the market by the 10th of November. But if you add them together, you get $1.1 million by doing Halloween first and Santa second. If you do Santa first, Halloween makes you nothing. The right answer to this question, which one you do first, is counterintuitive and breaks the rules in the Agile book, because the Agile books say do the highest value first, don't they? That answer is too simplistic because of the date, because the value is changing over time. Yes, I've got 45 minutes. I leave adding in the cost of the teams as an exercise for the audience. Well, once you've got this concept, there's all sorts of directions you can take this analysis in, and that is a completely valid one to take it in. Yeah. So this is what gets called the cost of delay, or to give it its full name, the opportunity cost of delay. And the thing I found about cost of delay is when you say cost of delay, most people, those who have not heard of it before, they tend to think of extra costs. Because it is late, what extra costs are imposed? So temporary staff you have to hire to man the call centre. Priority shipping because stuff's not getting out early enough. Penalty fines perhaps, because that's what banks call regulation, isn't it? If the regulator wants something, if you're late, you just get fined. Yeah? Slightly different to medical regulation. What we're really talking about here, where most of the cost of delay really should be, is the value you have lost, the value you have foregone. So these are things like not being in the market. You know, mums and dads go to buy the Christmas presents and your app is not there, so you're not going to cut to those sales. Things like not being available by those crucial data we're talking about. Things like not being in the market before your competitors, because while nobody's got these apps, your app being first in the market would be amazing. But once everybody's got one of these apps, it's far more difficult. Yeah? So it's not so much the extra costs you have because you deliver later, it's more the value you forego that you fail to capture because you are delivering later. So we all know the saying, time is money, and we tend to think more time means more costs. And that's valid. We also need to remember that more value means less revenue. You know, small caveat, sometimes there's exceptions, and it's not a universal rule, but most of the time, later delivery means less value, less business benefit. So revenue is inversely proportional to the time to delivery. You will generate less value, less revenue, less money the later you deliver. As a normal rule, if you're in one of those blessed industries where later delivery means more value, then keep on going. Don't ever stop. If you want to get into this deep, then Don Reinertson's book is the one to read. It is quite a dense read. You know, he was a McKinsey consultant. He came up with this figure that a 6-month delay can cost you 33% of your profits over the entire product life cycle. But go and read the book if you want to know this in detail. I find it a bit of a dense read, but there's the reference. So, deadlines are analog. We think of deadlines as drop-dead events. We either meet this deadline or we do not meet this deadline. If we meet the deadline, we get all the value, we get all the benefit. If we don't meet this deadline, then we don't get any of it. That's the way we think about it. But actually your own experience should tell you that's not the case. You know, there's plenty of projects I'm sure you've all worked on where you get towards the deadline and you're going to miss it. But they say, oh, keep on working, keep on doing stuff. The world doesn't stop because we miss the deadline. Some projects, yeah. But deadlines are actually analog. They're not binary. They're not all or nothing events. Different dates result in different values. I'm talking ahead of the slide here, aren't I? And to prove this, have you ever met this gentleman here who walks up to your desk or into your office and says, I need this and I need it yesterday? Yeah? Come on, some of you must work with salespeople. Yeah? I think most people have met him once or maybe twice in their lives. Now, what's the right answer to this question? 2 fingers. You need one of these. Because if you need it by yesterday, and if yesterday was all the value, then if you haven't got one of these, how are you going to meet his deadline? Yeah? So really, you should be saying to this guy, well, yesterday has gone. Yesterday, all my troubles. Yeah. Yesterday was yesterday, it's gone. I cannot go back in time. I know Siemens are working on one of these, but until we get one of them, we can't actually go back and create something in time. If you think about it in time value profiles, here you are. Yesterday, it was worth a lot of money. Today, it's worth nothing. Why would you work on this? So, best before date and the use by date. That's what he's saying. I need this yesterday is not a very useful conversation opener. That's your time value profile. So, so the right answer, this is probably what you say. I don't actually have a target, but could I get something to you by tomorrow? That's what you say, isn't it? Yeah. And he comes back and he says, brilliant, I knew I could count on you. Yeah. And this guy's Donald, isn't he? He's making a big, bold statement that he's going to back away from in negotiations. And he did yesterday, he's trying to put the pressure on you. But it's not very helpful. When you say, I can get something to you by tomorrow, what you discover is actually there is some value that is left to be delivered. It's not an all or nothing occasion. There was some value we could capture yesterday. Some of that value, maybe not all of it, is still available today and can still be recognised if you deliver tomorrow. The value may well be declining, but what you want to understand is how much is it declining, how fast is it declining. Now you've got parameters within which you can work. Yeah, if all the value accrued yesterday, then it's gone. If value still exists, then maybe we should do something. Now, I've whittled on and on about value, and you all buy this, you all think it's wonderful, but the question that's nagging in your mind is, how do I put a value on something? You could go and do the analysis. And some problems, your analysts can go out and they can suddenly, oh, if we change this, we can change the business process and we'll save money. It's one answer. You could go and do some market research in the product space. There's a number of ways you could do this. The problem is, if you do it rationally, you could always do it more, couldn't you? You could always do more analysis, you could always do more research, you could always ask more customers, you could always do it in more detail. You're always open to people saying, yes, to have your latest report. Did you incorporate the fact that Janet Yellen may increase interest rates? Did you, or you do it rationally, and that's great, but you're still open to questioning. People don't necessarily believe you. So one way is just simple. Go and ask the stakeholders, is this valuable to you? I mean, Lynn was saying this before, you can propose value, but the people who actually decide whether it is valuable or not are the stakeholders. You can tell them you've got this great new Apple Watch, and you can tell them all the things you can do, but they are the ones who will determine the actual value. So before you do anything, you could go and ask them if this is valuable. That's a radical idea. How much would you pay for this? One of the great things about actually doing some work, prototyping or initial version or whatever, is that you can actually take one of these things. This isn't an Apple Watch, it's a much cheaper one. You can actually take these things and show them to people. I'm sure most of you have done some analysis. I've met customers who, when you ask them what they want, they describe Excel to you. And we just want to work just like Excel. And one of the problems we have in our industry is that we can't imagine the problem until we start to think about the solution. Understanding a problem and defining a problem and creating a solution, defining a solution, actually go hand in hand. And as we get more and more technological, as more technology opens up more and more possibilities, the problems that you can address with technology become broader. But we can people, general users, non-technologists, etc., can only start to understand that they actually have a problem when you can start to show them technology that creates a solution to the problem. I saw a client in Australia a month ago, 2 months ago, and they fly aeroplanes and probably drones pretty soon along power cables. And they use lasers to find out where the tree branches are. And because they know where the tree branches are, they can tell the electricity companies when they need to cut trees down. Most electricity companies have people who drive along power lines or fly a helicopter and make copious notes, and it's very time consuming. They spend a lot of money on that. But the solution these guys in Australia have come up with, it's always mind-boggling. It's like Google Maps with 100 times the resolution. And the things they can do with this technology, only when you see it can you start to comprehend. They started off with a problem which you could see that it costs a lot of money to work out where the trees are you need to cut down. But once you start to build that, it just becomes so much more. These are the guys who are finding MH370. They're using the same technology to find a Malaysian airline on the bottom of the Indian Ocean. You sail a ship along, you ping the bottom of the ocean, you build a point cloud, and then you can see what's down there. You couldn't have come up with that solution unless you couldn't have come up and really understood that as a problem until you understood some of the solution, until you started to see what's possible. And how many of you knew you needed a solution to see pictures from your friends and family in your pocket You can see the latest pictures of your new niece or nephew within a few seconds. How many of you knew you had a problem seeing pictures of a new niece or nephew? Yeah? That is only a problem because we've created a solution. So we could ask our stakeholders, but we can't always foresee what's there. You can do the analysis, like I mentioned. Here's a radical idea. Estimate it. We have no problem with walking up to a developer and saying, "Dear Mr. Developer, I've got this idea for something. How long will it take you to build it?" What do you mean 6 weeks? Can't you do it in 4? Yeah. We have no problem with asking coders to estimate work. Why don't we ask the other people, the customers, the business people, to estimate how much something is worth? I call it value poker. I set it up like Dragon's Den. I will have maybe the person who really wants this, maybe their product owner, maybe their analyst, maybe a selection of these people on one side of the room, and I will set up a group of dragons on this side of the room, and I will have the people who want the thing maybe read out their user stories, maybe they'll describe the solution they want, then maybe they'll read out the user stories they want, and they will pitch these to our dragons, and our dragons armed with planning poker cards and a fantasy currency that I invent on the spot. Yes, we'd like to have value as pounds, shillings and pence, but why not business points? Why not Falmouth dollars? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you measure, what unit you use to measure business value in. If the things you are going to do will increase business value, then however you measure it, whatever units you use to measure it, will still work. So regular delivery, my graph before. If you delivered $250,000 worth of benefit, a small increment, you increase that to close to $350,000. And the same would happen if you measured it in euros or pounds or drachma or anything else. This photo was taken at a law firm in London last year. The law firm, the client I have a client, and my client's client is the law firm. So my client took the user stories they had, and they were building for the law firm, and the business analyst and product manager read them out one by one, and the lawyers or the people from the law firm had the planning poker cards. I took one story and I said, this story is worth 10,000, what did I use, London dollars, I can't remember what currency I invented on the spot, maybe in business. So this story is your benchmark, it's 10,000. If you are voting on this, it's 10,000. So the product manager read out another one, and I said, right, look at your cards, is it higher or lower? How much higher or lower? I pulled out planning poker cards, which are now denominated in thousands of business points or London dollars or whatever. And we went through all the stories, and just like you see your developers doing a planning poker session, we got them to estimate some value. I averaged it, I wrote it on, and when we got a story, we got a 5,000 story. When we got another story that was valued at 5,000, I said, is this story, we've already got a 5,000, is this new story, is it worth more than the existing one or less? Is it worth a lot more, maybe 6,000, a little bit more, 5,500, or just a little bit less? Yeah. And we went through all these stories. Now what's interesting is these ones down here. The client lowballed. Before we went to the meeting, the product manager and the business analyst had worked through the, 200 user stories they had. And they divided them into 5 envelopes. Must, should, could, would, or I don't do Moscow rules. They don't work in Kiev and they don't work on software projects. Most things are must. This was their must-have, essential, priority 1 items. And the client said of these stories, no value to us. One of these stories, the client said, tear it up on the spot. The product manager and the BA were not incompetent, stupid people, but they believed those stories were in the must-have pile. It was only when the client tried to put a number on them that it turned out they were 0. Interestingly, the story that came highest was to have the law firm's logo printed on checks. It turns out that in the legal world, when you deal with lawyers, checks are still important. Who would know? And it also turned out that the legal firm's branding department were really hot on this stuff. And so the story that scored the highest was actually to ensure that any checks printed by this system were branded correctly. Lay them out, and you can then reason about it. The logical thing is to start at the highest value item and come down, but there are valid reasons why you may not want to do that. Once you've got this kind of prioritization, you've got a straw man to talk about how should we work on these things, how can we get through them. And you can also start to say, bring it back to value profiles, you can start to say, this story here is worth 6,000. Is it worth 6,000 if I deliver it tomorrow? Is it worth 6,000 if I deliver it next week, next month? At what point does the value start to decline? You can start to see which ones of these are time dependent. And while you will easily spot the stories which are time dependent for Christmas, Halloween, etc., there's a lot more time dependencies that you won't be aware about until you expose this aspect. So imagine these three stories. Which order do we want to do them in? Do now, do soon, do later. Quite possibly, you know, if you follow, can I say Mike Cohn? If you follow standard Scrum advice, you'd start there and you go there and you go there. But possibly, if they're the best before dates, you've got 6 months before that starts declining in value. You've got 3 months before that starts declining in value. You've got 1 month before that starts declining in value. Perhaps the way to do these is like that. Do the low value one first. Perhaps they're the time value profiles. Perhaps 5,000 loses money quickly. Perhaps this one loses money very slowly. And it strikes me as I'm saying this that while I've been talking about a particular technique of value, cost of delay, time value profiles, a lot of this fits in quite nicely with the stuff Lynn was saying earlier on about you need analysis. This, you know, left to a bunch of developers following a Mike Cohn book, they do 10,000, 8,000 and 5,000. There is value to be added here from the analysis. And in this kind of scenario, you could actually place a value on the analysis. Because if the analysis led you to lead to do it in 5, 8, 10, you would make more money than if you did 10, 8, 5, wouldn't it? You could actually start to value the analysis. So there's value in analysis. Just don't get bogged down in analysis. Don't get bogged down in planning. JFDI. I am fed up of going into companies, particularly banks, any in the room, who have this fear of letting someone lay their hands on the keyboard and write code. And they want to have umpteen analysis and project and outsourcing and God knows what meeting. Have you guys ever tried coding? Do you know this story about Marathon Man, when they were filming Marathon Man? And it's like Dustin Hoffman, who was a young up-and-coming actor. I think it was John Gielgud, who was at the height of his career when they were filming. And apparently Hoffman goes, Mr. Gielgud, I'm so happy to be working with you. I've seen your Hamlet. You're the greatest actor ever. And I said, but tell me, Mr. Gielgud, I'm a method actor. I absorb the characters. I live their life for weeks till I know how to act. How do you know how to play the characters? And Gielgud says, my dear boy, have you tried acting? And I sit in these meetings at these particularly banks. They're not alone, but there's one meeting at a bank that sticks in my mind. And I feel like my dear says, have you tried coding? And the fear of letting anyone write a line of code. Oh. Know your time profile. It's an input to your planning. That is the overriding input. Not how long will this take, but what is the value and when will we maximize value. Your solution must be built to obtain as much value as possible within some time frame for a cost that leaves some profit. Tell your engineers you need to build something meets your goal within 4 weeks, and they will come up with a very different solution to one if you give them the same goal and tell them they've got 4 months. It's not a question of not doing the tests, of cutting corners, etc., etc. It's a question of engineering. Engineers create solutions to problems within constraints. If you don't expose these sorts of constraints, the engineers have only got half the picture. And if the business keeps asking the engineers when will it be ready and setting deadlines by that, that's an abdication of responsibility in my book. The business should be saying when they need it by to get the value, and the engineers come back and say, this is what we could build. Shall we go with this or shall we do something else? How much profit is made and how much value is extracted are part of this negotiation. Know your time value profile, target your profit, engineer. They're my books if you want to get them. There's some more of this in the continuous digital book. There's some more detailed discussion of these profiles, and I conveniently set you up a discount code if you'd like to. Oh, it's gone now. I was going to say, so I have to pay the mortgage somehow, don't I? Come back. I think I'm right out of time. I'm happy to take questions. There's only lunch now. If you're not particularly hungry, then we can keep some questions, but I've used all the time. But I'm happy to answer questions as we need. Yeah. Yes, fine. Yeah, just still remember that when you think about building a particularly new product or service, until you actually get it into the hands of a customer and you see what the customer will pay for it, you don't know if you're building the right thing or whether you're building something that makes value. And it is justifiable to say, well, we'll build something that isn't necessarily sustainable. We'll have a bunch of monkeys in the back room to support it. Because until we actually know what customers will pay for this, or whether they'll pay for it at all, we don't know what we've got. Which is the original idea behind minimally viable product, the three most misused words in our industry. The original idea of a minimally viable product is, what is the smallest thing you can ship to prove that you have a viable product, that people will pay money for this? So absolutely, cost engineer your things around sustainability, around cost to operate. But remember, everything is hypothetical until you put the product into the hands of a customer. And no product plan ever survived contact with the customer. Anyone? We do have the concept of continuous food this year, so the food stations will be serving food till I think it's 2 o'clock. Go and enjoy your lunch and just grab me if you want to talk some more. Thank you very much.